Episode 7, Supra update. So the Supra, I was all gung-ho, getting into it, doing lots of research, trying to figure out what everything was and is on the car. Hit some roadblocks, like uprights. We still don't know what they are, so I've spoken to a guy online, and he's going to come over when I get back from Sydney, and going to start talking about fabricating up some new front uprights, and maybe just looking over the rear ones. The rear ones look okay. They're homemade, but I think we can work with those. Billet is just out of the question. It's just way too expensive. So Brypar, so it's like something like $8,000 or something per upright or something crazy, which I'm not having a go at Brypar. It's just way out of my league. And spoke to a couple of people in sports sedans, and I can get some billet stuff done. It's about $6,000 to $8,000 a pair. Then you've got to add brakes. So the brakes, the calipers and rotors are going to be updated as well. It's just too old of stuff. It's very hard to get parts for. This car cannot race historics, so we don't have to worry about historics as such. So building the car to run state. Why state? Because nationals is a little bit out of my price range, budget-wise, to run. And we're going to do a video about budget and stuff as requested by you guys. So we'll do that. Anyway, so a good thing on the weekend is I figured out my diff setup. So I was going to go to a Winters 10-inch. Winters 10-inch quick change LSD IRS diff for America. It's going to cost me about $6,500 to get one here, and then you got to do drive shafts, mount it all up and all that type of thing. So I sort of budgeted. I thought it was going to cost about $10,000 to do it, and that's on one hand not expensive, but on the other hand very expensive. So the car has a Commodore M75 IRS diff in it at the moment, which I knew nothing about Commodores. I know nothing about them at all, except that Uber drivers, well, probably Ubers don't even use them, but taxis. So I call them taxis. They're not my thing. I know in Australia, Commodores and Falcons are all the shiz, but does nothing for me. They're just cars for taxis. But Commodore. So the good thing about Commodore stuff is that it's readily available. Lots of people have turned, Commodores into burnout cars, drag cars, race cars. So, obviously a lot of people go to 9 inches, but decided that if I can get the M75 to work, it's already mounted up, already have drive shafts, it's all laid out. So a lot of the hard work is done. So I contacted a few companies and hit a lot of roadblocks, but then found a company in Bendigo that do an M75 True Track LSD rated to 1200 horsepower. Now I know that you're generally talking torque rating rather than horsepower rating to do with components like this, but anyway, that's what it's rated to. So we're going to do that. We've got new gear set coming, so brand new gears, heavy duty bearings and billet adjusters on the side, all rated to 1200 horsepower, and they also can do me axles, so I'll get new axles made up, keep my old ones as spares. It's always good to have spares. Hopefully no axle breaks, but if it does, you've got it there. Anyway, so that'll all be rated to 1200 horsepower, and without going into details with sports sedans and everything, there is questions to do with how much power we can run, which is being resolved at the moment. But for me, our aim is around about 600 rear wheel horsepower. So I figure it's better to have your gear stronger than what you need rather than right on. So that's really good. I'm really stoked about that I've resolved the diff issue. And also, what else? Hell, there's just lots to do. I don't want this video to drag out. There'll be lots more Supra updates. I am doing the Supra. I'll be sticking with the 180 for now because it's such a good car. I love this car. Unless it sells, I don't really want to sell it, but if it sells for like 40 or 45, something like that, I might sell it. But otherwise, I just love that car. So eventually, though, we'll outgrow the 180, even though there's a lot more left in it for me to get speed-wise, better lap times and all that sort of thing. And eventually, we'll go into the Supra. So I've got more information for the Supra, but I'll do that in another video because I've rambled on enough. Thank you very much for tuning in. Love your work.